The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. I got Alan Hoskins back here again from American Farm Mortgage, and I'm going to try to make an attempt here, Alan. I'll guarantee I'll mess it up, but you are the president and national sales director, right?
You have that correct, sir.
I nailed it, finally.
You got it, Casey.
Finally, I win. All right. Big winner. Alan is nice. Let's come on and talk about what's going on in the world of banking and just kind of get his view of what's going on in the world. So, Alan, thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Casey, thank you for the opportunity to come back. Always enjoy this.
Love having you on, man. So let's start with a little Fed talk. Fed came out earlier this week, and of course, Powell's getting grilled up there on Capitol Hill, and everybody's wondering, election year, so everyone's going to try to get that interest rate lower a little bit. And basically, he said, "Hey, we're not going to change anything. We're seeing we feel good about where we're at, but we're not ready to lower any rates, and basically don't count on seeing anything in 2024." Basically, is what he said. So, I guess, Alan, as you look at that, what are your reactions to what you saw from the Fed?
Casey, that first of all, to me personally, wasn't terribly surprising. You go back and you look a few months ago. When I say a few, about 6 now. If you go back and look 6 months ago, the experts were saying we could see as many as 9 rate decreases over the upcoming 18 months. I think obviously inflation's proved to be a lot more testy and resilient than they anticipated it would be. And candidly, I was not shocked at all at what Chairman Powell came out with. It seems to me to be pretty logical that he would say that, particularly as you pointed out, in an election year, that would tend to be kind of, you would think, market neutral. So that kind of makes sense to me personally that would be his thought process.
Yeah. I wasn't too terribly surprised by it either because, again, two meetings ago, they'd kind of hinted that, hey, if anything, we might see a rate increase before we saw any decreases. And I think with inflation where they have it now, they feel good about it. And again, the Fed's not, quick to make decisions. They want to see a lot of data come through. So we'll see what happens. But I wasn't surprised by it. I don't think anybody in the market was surprised by it. And we didn't really see any big moves one way or the other. So it will be interesting to watch how the rest of that plays out for sure. All right. So before we started going today, we were kind of walking through what we were going to do. And you wanted to talk a little bit about accrual income versus cash income and those kind of things. So I totally understand it, Alan. I probably get it 100%, but I just want to ask for a friend that you could explain that and how that works.
Sure. Basically, Casey, looking at accrual adjusted numbers is, in essence, taking a tax return from the 2023 tax year. You look at your Schedule F, and you look at the net profit or loss that shows on that 23 tax return. You basically adjust for any income or expenses that were related to the 2022 crop. For example, grain that was carried over and sold in 23 from the 2022 crop. That would be excluded from an accrual adjusted number. Then looking at also what income or expense items were included in that 23 return that might be applicable to the 2024 crop. For example, prepaid fertilizer, making an adjustment for that. And also looking at the balance sheet, what grain was carried over from the 2023 crop that won't be sold until 2024. And Casey, this accrual adjusted numbers are something that have been present for years and years and years. We all understand that, I don't want to say farm tax returns lie, but farm tax returns lie because the tax code allows for income to be predicated upon cash expenditures for most farming operations because they're tax basis filers. So certainly it is permissible and lawful for folks to utilize the options that are available to them to manage their tax liability. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. In fact, I think that's a sign of a good manager. Now, as a banker, and I'm speaking personally right now, I'm not speaking on behalf of the industry or any other banker, I'm just speaking on behalf of me. Personally, what I want to be able to look at and understand as a resource to the producer is, let's see what they actually did for that, in this case, 2023 crop year. So let's make the adjustments needed to back out 2022 numbers. Let's make the adjustments needed to disregard 2024 numbers so that we can see how they actually did for that 2023 crop year. And there are producers out there, Casey, that have been doing this for a number of years. And there are bankers out there that have been doing this for a number of years as well. So it's certainly not a new concept, but given what we've seen with the price adjustments that have been fairly dramatic over the past year, it really has reared its head more, in my opinion, during 2023 than what we've seen over the past several crop years.
Okay. So give me an example what this would look like.
Okay. I can give you 3 examples. I can reference one particular operation that if you looked at the difference between their tax return and you look at their accrual adjusted numbers, there was about an 81.9% difference between their taxable income and their accrual adjusted income.
Okay.
Now, that 81.9% was about $150,000 to $175,000. So sometimes we get hung up on percentages, but I think it's important to look at dollars as well.
Sure.
In this particular case with them, it was a negative 81.9%. Another couple of operations, we saw one that their adjusted numbers were actually over 200% different than their tax numbers. Another operation was 158.47% different. Now, those are percentages, as I said. What do the numbers look like? On the operation that was over 200%, that number was somewhere in the $150,000 range as well. It's just their dollar level was different. On the 158.47% difference, that operation, those dollars were about $90,000. So looking at percentages is important, but understanding the perspective of the actual volume of dollars is equally important. But looking at the operations profitability on accrual adjusted gives the owners a much better sense of how they fared and their true position from a profitability perspective.
Okay, so what you're talking about there, so let's just say I had my difference, like you said, on one was the $150,000 difference.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important, and what does that mean? Like what does that mean at the end of the day?
Sure. What I would expect to see in a circumstance like I just described, where their accrual adjusted profitability was 158% worse than their tax number.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect that to translate into a reduction in working capital.
Okay.
So that's exactly what was observed in this particular case. In fact, it was, not surprisingly, a negative working capital circumstance. So that's a good corollary, typically, mm-hmm. between an accrual adjusted number. If it is negative, you're probably going to see some working capital challenges. Conversely, if it's positive, the working capital is probably going to look better than what it was anticipated based upon, the tax profitability.
Okay.
And as we all know and understand, working capital is, in essence, the daily lifeblood of an operation in continuing to be able to function.
Yep. Okay.
Obviously, assets can be leveraged against to help deal with working capital shortfalls as long as the cash flow supports it.
Right.
But certainly the working capital is the daily lifeblood of the operation.
Yeah, the old cash is king type of scenario there. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now, from your perspective, now you're working with folks like this. Like, how are you having the conversation with them that is, hey, this is what you need to do, or here's what we're going to be able to do, or you need to get your cash position in a better. Talk through that, what that looks like.
Sure. What that looks like, Casey, in the conversations that I have, and you talk to 10 different bankers, you'll probably get 12 different conversation thoughts. So okay. Keep that in mind.
Right.
What the conversation sounds like a little bit that I like to have with people is, first and foremost, Casey, I'm not going to disappoint you in saying this, but I'm not all that smart. So what I typically like to do with producers is, after I've looked at numbers, before I give them any thoughts or ideas, I want to hear what they think. Because what I find with the vast majority of producers, they may not know what cash to accrual accounting is, but they understand how their operation feels. And if I ask them, what kind of year do you think you had, on folks that have some challenges, they're usually pretty good saying, you know what, we had some good yields, but candidly, we're going to be a little bit stressed. We didn't do as good a job marketing as we thought, or maybe we spent some money that in hindsight we shouldn't have on creating some fertility upgrades in the ground, any number of things. So first and foremost, Casey, I want to hear what that producer thinks, because until I know what they're thinking, candidly, my opinion doesn't matter, nor should it. So I want to hear what they believe challenges may exist. And also what I find, not surprisingly, because this is the nature of farmers. Farmers will talk about challenges for the most part long before they'll talk about success. And that's because for the vast majority of farmers, they're pretty humble people to begin with. They want to do things well, they want to do things the correct way, and they don't want to point fingers at themselves and say, look how great I am. They
Right.
would rather have a conversation where they'd say, I think there's some areas that I can improve. So, first question, what do they see? Then, based upon that, then we can go more toward the discussion of let's look at numbers and see what they seem to be indicating. So we go through that. That typically will lead into a discussion relative to working capital. And then after that is finished, then I can say, what do you feel like perhaps some options are that can be utilized to help address the short-term or long-term situation? And I find the vast majority of folks, Casey, will say, here's kind of what I'm thinking, but I don't know how necessarily maybe to put it in the form or maybe what the long-term solution is. And that's where the partnership between the lender and the farmer really then comes into play. Because if the producer is involved in developing the solution, in fact, I will say if the producer is the primary developer of the solution outcomes tend to be a whole lot better.
Yeah. Yep. No one's ever hated their own plan, right?
I think that's a pretty factual statement. And in a lot of cases, the producer will be a lot harder on themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where I can come in and say, in essence, I really appreciate your honesty. I really appreciate your candor. But I think maybe you're being a little too tough on yourself. Let's look at the positives that you have in this operation. And then let's work and look at some solutions, and you kind of tell me your thoughts and ideas.
Yep. Okay. One more thing here, Alan. I'll let you get going because I know you got to get to a meeting here. But as you're looking at the balance of 2024 with all the election year stuff we got going on, and we got one guy that doesn't know who he's talking to most of the time running for president, and you got another guy that you never know what he's going to say. So as you're looking at what's going on there, what's your thoughts as you move through the end of 2024 here?
Casey, that's a fantastic question. First and foremost, as you and I were talking previously, I believe this is the first time in history of this country that regardless of who wins, we're going to have a lame duck president. Now, you may have some listeners and viewers out there that can correct me, and if I'm wrong, I wish they would. So we're in a little bit of uncharted waters from that perspective. We've not seen the movement forward on Farm Bill, candidly, that I had maybe
I thought that was going to take off and run, but it just never went anywhere.
Well, I think, speaking personally, Casey, looking back, I think I had a little bit of Pollyanna-ish hope that we would see bipartisan politics come into play. And I'll say this, I think we've got some really good human beings on both sides of the aisle that are working to try to resolve this. I can't tell you the exact reasons why they're not making greater headway than what they are, and candidly, that's above my pay grade to figure out.
Yeah.
But I think the Farm Bill is something at this point, based upon the information that I've been allowed to be privy to and understand, and it's nothing certainly private, it just seems as though that a Farm Bill is becoming less and less likely prior to an election.
Right.
So we know that there's some things extremely important to producers as part of that farm bill. And we also fully realize that the money that will go to true producers in the farm bill is a pretty darn small part of the farm bill. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, Casey, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with control of any chamber. We don't know what's going to happen with the presidential election. And I would almost say the same thing relative to that I've said about interest rates the last few years. Work to position yourself as a producer that, based upon what you know, what you understand, and more importantly, what you can learn, try to position yourself so that your risk is mitigated as much as humanly possible, regardless of the election's outcome.
Yeah.
That's much easier said than done, however.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. A lot of stuff to pay attention to, man. And, just like you said, there's a lot of things to keep your finger on as far as pulses go, because it could change from one day to another. And everything's so volatile right now. Yeah, everything. Doesn't matter what it is.
It is. And, Casey, you have a really great recurring guest on this podcast that talks about both economics and weather. And, we've not even touched on the weather risk that has been out there this year.
Yeah. It's this year, weather pattern wise, either you're getting too much rain or not enough. And there's nothing in between. It's just crazy. Mm-hmm. Crazy. So, well, Alan, it's always a pleasure to have you on. If folks want to reach out to you and talk about what you have going on,
sure.
What's the best way to do that?
My email address is ahoskins@americanfarmmortgage.com. And my cell phone is 618-926-0463. Always welcome folks to reach out. Always like to hear the thoughts and opinions of others. I learn a whole lot more when I'm listening than I do speaking. So I always like the perspectives that people offer.
Right on. Well, Alan, thanks a lot, man. We'll catch you again next month.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate it.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Check out the video version of the YouTube channel, which is the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, and go to movingironllc.com for everything Moving Iron related. And while you still can, get over to TikTok and check us out over there. So check us out there, all the fun stuff that's going on over there at the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, September 4th through 6th. Alan's going to be there talking about what's going on, so check that out if you want to see some more Alan in person. That's a good place to go check him out there. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Alan Hoskins. Let's go with some iron, folks. Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century.